Alrighty, I really want to do YouTube and I want to stay consistent. I feel like this is a good car to stay consistent with. It's a nice car. There's plenty of stuff to do. First thing you're going to want to do is take off your intake. Pretty simple. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to disconnect this connector right here, which goes to the mass airflow sensor. You're also going to take off these clamps. It should be this clamp and this clamp. You can leave these two together unless you plan on replacing the mass airflow sensor. So don't forget to remove this. Now, when you do that, you're going to want to take that intake and just put it off to the side. And I forgot to mention this. In fact, I don't even think it matters anyway. But this video applies to the Ls1. I have no idea if the Ls6 is any different. But, not the Ls6, I apologize. I meant the Ls2. Alright, let's go ahead and stick that bad boy back there. And, let's see what happens next. What I like to do is move everything that's not necessary out the way to the best of your ability. Went ahead and took this coolant line, just stuck it over there, and the same thing with this harness, stick it over here. Next up, we're going to be taking off the belt. To do that, go ahead and grab yourself a 15-inch wrench and you're going to put it on this pulley right here. Now, a bit of a fair warning, you can use a socket and a ratchet. The only problem is this little hose is going to get in the way, so if you do have a wrench, I do recommend using it. And all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to push it toward the right side to loosen up that belt, and then go ahead and take that belt off. Now, unless you plan on replacing the whole belt, I recommend just kind of taking it off simply the pulley and just laying it down just right there. So it's off the pulley, it's out the way. That way, when you go to put it back on, all you got to do is just pick it up, make sure it's on that roller right down there, and then just put it back on here and you're good to go. That way you don't have to reroute it. You don't have to worry about it being in the way. And it's just a simple, clean uninstall and install. All right, now here's where things get a little messy and a little tricky. So thankfully for these pumps, they have their reservoir mounted separately. This is gonna be a reservoir right here. And all you're gonna be, well, me personally, I'm replacing the reservoir. So I'm gonna be replacing the pulley, pump, and reservoir. Actually, the pump that I'm getting off of eBay comes with its own pulley, so it makes this way easier. Other than that, you're going to be renting a pulley puller from AutoZone. And, I mean, it's cheap and easy. It's just, unless you have a vise to hold that pump in place, it's a pain in the ass to separate. So, I recommend finding a way to drain the fluid. Me personally, I'm probably just gonna let it drizzle all over the place. But if you can, I'd recommend finding something to drain it into. But nevertheless, what you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna unscrew this right here. This is gonna be the return line that goes down to the gearbox. So for this, all you're gonna do is disconnect this and move it over to the side. The only real thing that you're gonna be worrying about that comes from the pump to the reservoir is gonna be this thick boy right here, which to get that off, it's simply gonna be a hose clamp right here and another hose clamp right there. So that's pretty easy to get off. It's gonna be, I mean, just your simple clamp size bolts. Okay, well, I actually lied. I am gonna be a good person and take the fluid out the right way instead of just letting it drizzle all over the ground. So to do this, you could realistically go to Harbor Freight or your local parts store and they will have the hose with the pump in the middle. Makes it real easy, but we're gonna do this the old-fashioned way, which is a container and a hose. Now, usually you just stick it in there and you suck on it till the fluid comes out and you put it in there and the gravity will pull it out. But personally, I don't want to risk getting that in my mouth. So I'm going to use the turkey baster. The turkey baster, same concept. Instead of using your mouth, you're going to use the turkey baster. See how this works out. All right. Now, take your little thingy off, put it to the side. Stick your hose in there. So just ran into a problem. The hole on my reservoir is actually smaller than my hose. So there's two options. Either A, I can use a knife and shave this hose down to fit the hole, or B, I can make that hole bigger to fit this hose. I am replacing it, so it doesn't really matter what damage I do to it. The hose, on the other hand, we'll try it the right way first. For those who aren't replacing the reservoir, we'll try to cut it down and see what happens. But I fear the hole of this hose is actually the same size as the hole of that reservoir. But we'll blow stuff up, see what happens, right? All right, when you're done putting everything in, it should look something like this. I actually ended up shaving the hose down. It's not as clean as I wanted it to be, and in fact, with this one, you're probably gonna get a bit of furry stuff in there. But other than that, what you'll do once you get it in there, you're gonna take your turkey baster and just stick it on the end of that hose and suck it out so the fluid comes out. And then once you do that, you should have it start filling through fluid here. Alrighty, now did a little mess, but for the most part, I got the vast majority of it. It doesn't look like much, but in comparison to the Reservoir, this is a pretty big bottle. And so, yeah, looking here inside the Reservoir, you can see that it's, for the most part, pretty clean, right? My God, I can't see anything. Look at that, clean, just a little bit left in the bottom there, but that's not the point. All right, now we move on to taking these two off right here. Just two simple flathead or size 7 probably bolts, but we're gonna use a flathead because it's gonna be the easiest for us. All right, now that you got this taken off, feel free to empty that out into your container. I thought I got everything, but I guess not. Anyways, after that, we're gonna start taking the pump off. All right, now to do that, it's gonna be a couple bolts here. Mind you, of course, this is my first time doing this, I'm not gonna lie. So it's gonna be this bolt right here and that bolt right there. And I believe there is a third bolt, but I believe wrong. So it should just be those two bolts right there, which are size 15. The same as what you use to take off that pulley right there, or not take off, but take off the belt. Again, this is another instance where you're gonna wanna use a wrench because there's not really enough space between that pulley and that to take off these two bolts. Now, if you are removing your pulley, I do recommend you remove your pulley while the pump is still attached, because it is a lot easier. Because I'm pretty sure with the pulley, you install everything right here and you take 2 wrenches and you do one way and one the other way. Now, without a vise, trying to do that on the floor is very difficult, so I recommend doing it in the car. And same goes for installing the pulley back onto your new power steering pump. You're going to want to put the pump in first and then put the pulley on the power steering pump, because again, without a vise, it's very difficult to do. All right, now if you don't have a really long wrench to break these bolts, see, this one's looking like it's going to be a little bit hard to break. So if you don't know the way to do this, I'm going to show you. So here's how you make a breaker bar with another wrench. Now this is going to be a size 14, and here's how you do this. I'm gonna have to do this while holding my phone between my legs. All right, so here's your wrench, right? You put it on the bolt. Now you take your other wrench and you're going to take this end. Essentially what you do is you take it and you're going to take the hole and you're going to put it on the up end, right? And essentially you put it on, you bring it over, and you bring it down and you turn. So that way when you push up, see how that's not moving? And that gives you a breaker bar. Tore up by mosquitoes, Jesus. But anyway, again, got that breaker bar. You're gonna be pushing it to the left. Look at that, amazing. Now I do use ratcheting wrenches just because it makes this job. Oh, and same thing, to take it off, you just rotate it sideways and it comes right off. Naturally, you don't want to lose your wrench, but you know. All right, so since I'm using ratcheting wrenches, this makes this job a lot easier. Alrighty, look at that, easy. All right, and same thing for the other bolt down there. You're just gonna take your little wrench, stick it on the bolt, get it to an ideal position, and then put your breaker wrench on there and have at it. Now, assuming that both bolts are going to be this way, if you're taking the pulley off without taking if you're taking the pump off without taking the pulley off first, this bolt is going to come out to about right here, and then it's going to be in there. Now, don't worry it's not a problem because you can actually take it off through these holes right here if you just rotate it. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was low-key gonna contradict myself because I didn't know this had holes in it, and I low-key just kind of worried myself. I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have to take the pulley off to get this bolt off. But thankfully, the one-time GM actually thought about the people that work on their cars and make these little holes. And actually, now that I think about it, you can do this with a long socket if you stick it through that hole right there. Well, it's pretty neat. Anyway, moving on to the second one. Now, a couple things to note. I had to wrench mine all the way through the threads. There was no point in which I was able to use my fingers. So if you feel like you gotta wrench it and yours is too tight, well, mine was the same way. Next up, after you get these two out, they're gonna be the exact same length, so you don't really have to organize them. You can put either one in either hole. Moving on to over here, you're gonna have the high pressure line on the back of the pump right there. You can hit that with a size something line wrench. Let me get it for you real quick. All right, so it'll be a size 5/8 line wrench. Now, if you don't have line wrenches, which I do recommend you picking up a little set, they're like $10 max at Harbor Freight. I don't know about any other part stores, but line wrenches are amazing, especially if you're doing any work with power steering. It's pretty much required so that you don't strip out that line on the back. But anyway, size 5/8. If you don't have a line wrench, a simple 5/8 wrench will do. But having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides of contact is a lot better than only having, it's really 2 more than it is 3. All right, so basically just go ahead and get that off. This one, thankfully, I can take off with my hands, which I really do appreciate. Also, if anybody was wondering, just for reference, because I know sometimes I get a little confused myself, you're going to be turning the bolt this way. Because you got to remember, you're looking at, technically, you're going to be looking at the bolt from this side, so it'll be lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So you're going to be turning the bolt. I mean, you can see which way I'm turning it. Ah, yes, hot pee all over my hands. That feels good. Yep, destroying the environment. Love to see it. All right, let's go and pull this little bad boy out of here. I'd rather not do this job. Little asshole. Oh, and it looks kind of new, too. Actually, no, it doesn't, because that actually sits right up against the block, so it doesn't get exposed to any dirt or anything. All right, let's go ahead and set that down. Alrighty, go ahead and get that in there. About as good as it's gonna get. And ideally, same thing with this. Pick her on up and pour her in there. I think most of it's already kind of leaked out. Yeah. Alrighty, and that is pretty much everything. Very easy job with a simple 15mm wrench and a flathead screwdriver and a 5/8 wrench. You can do this whole entire job. Very easy. Honestly, if you watch this whole video and you know what you're doing from the start, unlike me, this can take you probably like 30 minutes to an hour to uninstall. I don't know about install. Install is pretty much just the exact same thing backwards. And yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. Pretty much just the process to reinstall it is you put your new pulley on your pump. If you're taking the pulley off, you take your pump, you set it in there, you put on your high pressure line first. Then you take your pump, you align it with those 2 bolts, your bolt are in there. Then after that, you're going to take your reservoir and stick it back on top of your pump. And then you're going to connect those 2 lines to the reservoir. You're going to put your intake back on. Actually, you're going to put your belt back on first. And then you're going to put your intake back on, plug everything up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope this was really helpful. Sorry if I got off track a little bit anywhere between there. And yeah, dude, there's mosquitoes. Look, you see all these mosquitoes? Jesus. Is anybody getting bit up in here? All right, that's it.